Ukraine also continues to fight Russia's shadow fleet with the help of drones. The Security Service of Ukraine, together with the Ukrainian Navy, struck in the Black Sea using Sea Baby maritime drones. The target was the tanker Dachshund. Under the flag of the Comoros Islands, the vessel sustained critical damage in the stern area. This was reported by Freedom's sources in the Security Service of Ukraine. According to preliminary data, the tanker, valued at around $30 million, has been put out of commission. It was heading toward Novorossiysk with its transponder turned off. The vessel is part of Russia's shadow fleet and is under sanctions from the EU, the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, and Switzerland. The Security Service of Ukraine notes that this is already. In 2 weeks, another sanctioned tanker has been put out of commission thanks to the strikes by Sea Baby, which significantly reduces the oil revenues of the Russian Federation. American and European officials have refuted President Trump's claim that Russia supposedly has an advantage on the battlefield. According to CNN, there are currently no new assessments from the United States or Europe indicating significant changes at the front. And there are no signs that Russian occupation forces could achieve a quick victory in the war. According to the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, there have already been 127 combat engagements on the front line since the beginning of the day. Russian troops are attacking most actively in the Pokrovsk direction, where about 150,000 Russian army soldiers are concentrated. More details about the situation at the front are coming up next.
Fighters from the main intelligence directorate of Ukraine's Ministry of Defense destroyed radars and a launcher of the Russian S-300 air defense system in the Zaporizhzhia direction. Ukrainian intelligence published a video of the combat operation on its Telegram channel. The footage shows 2 radar stations, enemy drones, and a launcher of the S-300 surface-to-air missile system being hit. The Russian army's personnel also suffered losses. And the Special Operations Forces. In Donetsk region, they eliminated a Russian sabotage and reconnaissance group. The group tried to infiltrate the rear of Ukrainian defenders, taking advantage of the weather conditions. According to the Special Operations Forces, operators of the 8th Regiment set up an ambush for the Russian sabotage and reconnaissance group while carrying out a special mission in a wooded area. As a result, the entire enemy group, 5 soldiers in total, was eliminated.
Infiltration by small groups. 100 distinct groups, each comprising 2 or 3 individuals, or at most 5 people, who simply scatter themselves like scattered peas across the expansive ground and diligently try to conceal themselves behind all sorts of varied terrain features ranging from small dilapidated garage shells to the substantial imposing remnants of once grand multi-story buildings. Control shafts, some structures at the mines, meaning various administrative buildings. They hide in utility rooms, sit there for a week, can stay, accumulate, and then move forward. So the infiltration tactic is effective.
At the same time, in the Pokrovsky direction, Ukrainian border guards disrupted a nighttime movement of infantry from the Russian occupation army. Operators of UAVs from the Chernihiv border detachment, who are holding positions on this section of the front, used precise FPV drone strikes to take out an entire group of Russian occupiers. They also destroyed an observation post and several enemy firing positions. In the Kostiantynivka direction, Russian occupiers are also trying to advance into the city. According to the 28th Separate Mechanized Brigade of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, the number of Russian army assault groups is increasing, but so is the number of eliminated soldiers among them. The Russians try to hide in the fog, but Ukrainian pilots using FPV drones and bombers make their own adjustments, disrupting the enemy's plans. In the Lyman direction, the Russian army attacked the positions of Ukrainian defenders in the areas of the settlements of Novoye Horivka, Rekivka, Zarekne, Torske, and towards Oleksandrivka and Drobisheve. In the Kostiantynivka direction, the enemy tried to break through the Ukrainian defenses near Pleshchivka, Rusinovoyar and Yablonivka. And in the Pokrovsk direction, Russian occupiers attempted to push back Ukrainian defense forces in the areas of the settlements of Nikonorivka, Kotlina, Udakne, and towards Krasny Liman, Mirnorad, and Molodetske. Thus, the defensive operation in the Pokrovsk-Mirnohrad agglomeration continues, according to Serhiy Brachuk, spokesperson for the Ukrainian Volunteer Army. As of today, the situation has been stabilized despite the pressure exerted by the Russian army specifically in this direction.
There are almost 150,000 to 160,000 enemy personnel concentrated there, enemy troops. However, and this was confirmed by Commander-in-Chief Syrskyi the day before, half of the city is currently controlled by Ukrainian defense forces. Accordingly, the maneuvers that our fighters managed to carry out, which the front was stabilized, including by getting out of a difficult situation in the area of Suki Yar and Lisivka. Today the front line has been straightened. It is now clear that the Russians have not managed to change anything drastically, despite the enormous efforts the enemy is making today to try to advance both in the city center and accordingly in the northern districts of Pokrovsk. However, they were not able to do this.
In addition, Ukrainian units repelled a mechanized Russian attack on Pokrovsk. The Russian occupiers once again tried to take advantage of unfavorable weather conditions and used armored vehicles and motorized equipment. Enemy columns attempted to break through from the southern direction into the northern part of the city. But the unit of the 7th Rapid Response Corps of the Ukrainian Air Assault Forces acted in an organized manner. They repelled the attack. Other Ukrainian units, including artillery, struck enemy equipment and personnel. According to preliminary information, units of the 76th Pskov Air Assault Division of the Russian Armed Forces were involved in the attack. The defense forces continued to strike at Russian surface-to-air missile systems. Drone operators from the unmanned systems forces within their units' areas of responsibility destroyed 2 Tor-M1 self-propelled SAM systems and 1 new Buk-M3 SAM system of the Russian army. The destruction of such systems is highly significant as the Russian army is experiencing a severe shortage in the production of high-tech and expensive SAM systems to make up for its losses. Earlier, fighters from this same unit destroyed 3 Russian air defense systems worth nearly $60 million in just 3 days. And in the past 24 hours, Ukraine's defense forces have eliminated 1,010 Russian occupiers. Thus, according to the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, the total losses of the Russian army since the start of the full-scale war have exceeded 1,183,000 military personnel. In addition, the day before, Ukrainian defenders destroyed 1 tank, 1 armored combat vehicle, 25 artillery systems, and 107 units of enemy automotive equipment.
China is strengthening its cooperation with Russia in the military sphere. In this regard, the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, instructed the Foreign Intelligence Service to more closely monitor potential threats. According to him, part of Russia is effectively under China's control, which is obtaining necessary resources from there. In addition, Volodymyr Zelensky tasked them with monitoring other aspects as well, particularly those concerning the national interests of Ukraine and its partners. Global security should not suffer because Russia's drive for aggression is not diminishing, the Ukrainian leader emphasized. Poland may transfer MiG-29 aircraft to Ukraine in exchange for access to Ukrainian drone and missile technologies. This was stated by the Polish General Staff of the Armed Forces. According to the command, the issue is being actively discussed, but a final decision has not yet been made. The agency added that the transfer of fighter jets would become an element of the policy to support Ukraine and ensure the security of NATO's eastern flank. Germany has deployed Eurofighter jets in Malbork, Poland. This is part of a NATO mission to strengthen the eastern flank against Russian airspace violations, Reuters reports. The redeployment of equipment was a response to recent incidents involving Russian drones and aircraft. Along with the fighter jets, the Bundeswehr sent 1,500 military personnel to Poland, including not only pilots but also technical staff, logisticians, and military police. The alliance's presence in the Kaliningrad area will be reinforced until March of next year.
Eurofighter jets serve as a means of deterrence but also as a tool for active defense against threats. However, in the future, we will undoubtedly use a combination of various weapon systems and means of protection against unmanned aerial vehicles. This also includes ground-based systems that are currently being developed and produced in European countries.
Since the first visit of U.S. Secretary of Defense Hegseth to Poland, we have maintained very close relations with those responsible for defense policy. But above all, we have established excellent relations between our armed forces. As for the Americans, Poland, we have a statement from President Trump that their numbers will not be reduced, and we are offering the American side to increase the presence and responsibility of American troops in Poland. This is one of the pillars, this close Polish-American military alliance within NATO.
Denmark is recording a record increase in hybrid threats from Russia, writes Reuters, citing the annual report of the Security and Intelligence Service. It also states that Russia's war against Ukraine has a particular impact on the security situation. Meanwhile, as reported by the German Air Traffic Control Service, Germany is preparing plans to protect its airspace. Kristina Dombrovskaya will tell you more in detail.
Moscow may intensify hybrid attacks against states, NATO members, writes Reuters, citing a forecast by Danish intelligence. According to the Danish Security and Intelligence Service, the countries posing the greatest threat to the alliance's security are Russia and China.
The world's great powers are increasingly prioritizing their own interests and using force to achieve their goals. At the same time, uncertainty has arisen regarding the role of the United States as a guarantor of European security. This will increase Russia's willingness to intensify its hybrid attacks against NATO. From the Reuters publication.
To counter hybrid threats from Russia, Latvia plans to allocate more than 200 million euros in 2026 to strengthen air defense and another 50 million to develop drone capabilities. This was reported by the country's Minister of Defense, Andris Spruds. He noted that acoustic drone detection technologies and the integration of new surveillance systems will allow the defense forces to respond more effectively to potential threats, and are also important steps toward creating the European drone wall.
Our external border is also the border of the European Union and NATO and of the EU. Security is our shared responsibility. That is why, at the European level, I advocate for increased funding for air defense and capabilities. For drones, emphasizing that this is one of Europe's most important tasks for the coming years. Andris Spruds, Minister of Defense of Latvia, from a statement on the website of the Latvian Ministry of Defense.
Meanwhile, in Germany, plans for the defense of airspace are being developed, according to a representative of the German Air Traffic Control Service. According to him, airlines and airports still do not take the possibility of an attack on the country seriously enough, or on NATO allies.
At present, we are working with the Ministry of Defense and the Ministry of Transport on a set of requirements to be prepared for defense. Airlines, civilian air carriers, and airports are far from considering the possibility that we could find ourselves in a situation where military actions are taking place in the country. This is something we need to work on so that they know exactly what happens in the event of airspace closure. Arndt Schönemann, head of the German Air Traffic Control Service, in a comment. Euronews.
Ensuring the security of airspace on NATO's eastern flank is the alliance's responsibility, stated German Deputy Defense Minister Niels Schmidt. During a visit to Romania, at the beginning of 2025, 5 Eurofighter jets from the German Air Force were sent to the country as part of the NATO airspace patrol mission.
For us, as the German government, it is absolutely clear that the protection of the eastern flank is the responsibility of NATO as a whole and therefore also of Germany. That is exactly why we are here. That is exactly why our Air Force is here. We fully support the large-scale modernization of the Romanian armed forces. We are fully aware that European allies must take on greater responsibility within NATO for a more effective approach to the threats facing our alliance. We are also exploring new ways to cooperate with our German partners in modernizing defense capabilities, strengthening deterrence and defense in the Black Sea, and supporting Ukraine and Moldova.
The Finnish armed forces have acquired new equipment designed to counter small reconnaissance drones, according to Reuters. According to the agency, this involves hundreds of jammers and portable drone detectors, as well as additional sights. The military currently plans to order a substantial number of unmanned aerial vehicles of diverse categories in the year 2026, as well as supplementary equipment to counteract unmanned aerial systems.